The session is how to start and grow a consulting business in the next 90 days under 500 US dollars. About the speaker, Hassan Adnan is a GIKI Alum, class of 2010. He started off with Coca-Cola as a technology business analyst, and later he's currently works as a strategy consultant with a local training company where he has established a consulting business and grew it to over 4 crore PKR in 18 months with a shoestring budget. So Hassan, thank you so much for taking up the time. Let's get started. Over to you.
Acha, wonderful. So I think so I'll just quickly thank everybody who's joined in before I start my presentation. I think the format is clear to everybody, or should I resume it? What I've come to know is that it's going to take 45 minutes, and then we have about 15 to 20 minutes for question answers. Is that so, Ramibhai?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So
just a quick suggestion for everybody that let's if you prefer that way, you'll complete the presentation and then we can have the question Q&A session right after that, right?
Right.
Over to you, Hassan.
Wonderful. So the topic is how to start and grow a consulting business in the next 90 days. I'm Hassan Adnan, and today this is how I've broken up the whole topic. It's covered in 4 different sections. So number 1 is how do you choose a consulting niche or niche/market, and then how do you build competitive advantage in highly saturated markets. So once you have started, how do you make yourself so competitive and so prominent that business comes to you, and then how do you come to a position where you can have some kind of price command and not basically worry about commodity being commoditized as a service provider. And finally, some thoughts on how can you grow your consulting practice. So I have a little model to share on that. There are different ways you can do that. So let's get into this. So I'm Hassan Adnan. I graduated from GIK in 2010, and I graduated as a software engineer, and then for 2 years I worked as a software product developer in an R&D function. I basically explored a couple of languages, and then we developed a couple of products, and that was a good start to the career. But it was one day a thought came to me that because of the change in technology, it's changing at a rapid pace. I came to this realization that I should be the guy who comes up with the ideas rather than does the work of implementation or the product development, because I mean I can't keep up with the whole idea. But so I think it was destined to be, and it led me to a good position at Coca-Cola, where I had good exposure. I worked on a couple of technologies. I was primarily supporting marketing function. So that is where I started developing business sense. I had passion for business. I wanted to start it since I graduated. I just didn't know how to do it. So Coca-Cola just did help me give a good platform and a good exposure to get into this new dimension for me, coming from an engineering background. So in 2015, I actually resigned from Coca-Cola, and basically I resigned, and then I had to. What I had on mind was I should be going for developing something of my own, and I should try out my luck. And the startup scene was just growing in Pakistan. I had actually won some prizes in Startup Islamabad weekend, and that led me to this whole, belief in myself that I can do it. But it so happened that I was struck by this classical overconfidence mistake, where without understanding the market and without understanding the customer side of things, I just went into it and started developing a product for education sector. For Dubai, especially, it was a new thing at that time. Analytics, which is starting off, especially in education sector. And the whole idea was the big plan was that I would launch it during GITEX in Dubai, and I will meet customers and sell it and make a lot of money. But I came to a dead end when I found out that the Ministry of Education has some regulation in place. They have their own software. It was undergoing deployment. It wasn't fully deployed, but they had this thing going on where every school or every education institute had to implement it. So it's UAE, you can't do much. So it was a dead end. And at the end of the day, I whatever gratuity I received from Coca-Cola, whatever saving I had, actually burnt all of it. So and some of it I actually spend on your right. It's Rehan Allahwala, is an entrepreneur. I met him while I was in Dubai. So I did invest a lot on my education, on business side of it, however, quite informal way. So I've been mentored by ex-McKinsey partners. I've done a lot of courses. So all of it is sort of like a street smart way. Everything informal. So I don't have, if you just look at my profile, I don't have any kind of business degrees. But alhamdulillah, I have enough to make things happen. So, and this belief led me to take a big decision of a career change. I know this is a subject that is relevant to a lot of people over here as well. So we're going to go into this. This is what starting a consulting business is all about, having a career change. So I'm going to share what I've learned. And so what ended up happening was when I came back to Pakistan, I had zero money. But the next month, I pitched my services to a product development company, and they hired me. After a couple of months, a training company pursued me, and long story short, we partnered up and started helping this company go through a turnaround. And they were struggling at that time. So what I'm going to share today, now let's just come to what we're going to do it for you. So I just wanted to share my story so that you have a better context of where I'm coming from, and what kind of mindset do I have going into things. But whatever errors I've made, whatever mistakes I've made, I'm going to, I hopefully save you tons of hours. And at the end of the day, if you follow this step, which has helped me personally and then the company that I've turned around, then you can ultimately be in a very good financial position if you're starting off, if you're deciding to start off your own consulting firm after this session, or if you have been thinking about it. So now is the right time to do it. But why should you really start a consulting company in the next 90 days? I think this is the most relevant question that we should start off with. I was basically exploring a lot of trends. COVID and all these things have, given all of us some time. And so a thought came to me that I should just compile it and share that with you. So number one trend is around recession. So we all know what is happening around. We all know what is happening around the world. This is one of the events that has had a universal effect on, I believe, at least 75% of the world and population of the world. So at one point, 1/3 of the world were actually in a lockdown. So that's strange. But anyway, let's talk about US. What is happening in US is unemployment is rising every week. Probably last week, I think, last week was the first time that actually declined. However, it is staggering. These numbers are just off the chart. So I have data since that is starting from 2000, compiled by McKinsey, but I've seen other charts that start from 1950 and even World War. But these numbers are just off the chart. So this is one thing that's happening. The other thing that is happening because of this underlying factor is that a lot of companies, not only in tech, where it's surprising that it's coming from tech as well, but not only tech, you have companies, transport companies in airline, travel, hospitality, manufacturing, you name it. There are all sorts of companies that are slashing employees. I mean, they're laying off employees. And by the way, let me know if my voice ever breaks up or there is some kind of difficulty in hearing me, so I can just fix it if I can. So this is happening across the board. We have so many companies getting rid of employees, laying off employees. I mean, and going through different kind of closure, either store closure or just total business closures. So this is trend number one. Trend number two, we all understand, and we've been hearing about it. This is not news, that automation is going to displace a lot of jobs. We've been hearing about it, but it's going to create new jobs as well. So what Gartner is saying is that there's going to be a net new jobs in 2025. This is what Gartner is saying. So AI is not just going to eliminate jobs. This is one thing, but it's going to create new kind of jobs as well. And similarly, if you look at McKinsey, what they are saying is that there are risks around job, but ultimately by 2030, there will be again a net positive increase in what's going to happen. Similarly, World Economic Forum is also saying that things are going to be not so negative. And Boston Consulting is saying that 67% of the executives in China and 50% in US, they're saying that they're going to reduce their numbers. So things are going to reduce, and the new jobs are going to be created. We don't know exactly what the net effect is going to be. Is it either going to be a positive effect or negative effect? However, we know that things are going to change. There is going to be some kind of massive disruption, especially considering and being accelerated by this COVID phenomenon. So if we move further, this is what Board Factor is saying. This is one of the think tank that advises governments and for long-term thinking. So what they're saying is that, this is all fine. There's going to be a net effect, but ultimately the cost of keeping these employees, these blue-collar employees together is going to be so high that there has to be some way that businesses need to improvise in order to effectively stop their profits from squeezing. So there has to be some mechanism where they can in fact improve their profits, because the cost of upskilling them, the cost of retaining them is going to be very high. So just keep in mind, we're going to bring all these trends together into one kind of way of thinking. Number third is, we all know that work from home is becoming something of a usual. I'm working from home. You might be hearing some background noise of my children moving around. But this is something of a common kind of thing that is going to persist. And tech companies are very open to this idea. JP Morgan is a bank which is also open to the idea. So they have started to think about how to, how to make this work. In Pakistan as well, a lot of good companies are trying to manage things this way as well. But what is going to happen is that either it's going to become so there are three options. Number one is there will be industries which we cannot implement this phenomena in. Then there will be companies where it will be permanently done, and then there will be this partial group of people, partial group of companies where they will go either for 25%, 10%, 15%, whatever is something that that is relevant to their economics. But ultimately, this is going to change the way work is done in the future. This is going to change the way we think about work in the coming few years.
Hassan, quick time check, 15 minutes gone.
Yeah, thanks. So let's just bring these things together. And so what I'm basically, what I've alluded to before, the first was recession, number two was automation, number three is work from home. And where this is going is basically there is going to be this idea of talent on demand. And now ever more, because of the accelerated pace of change and the accelerated idea of working from home, and the fact that businesses are not making enough money, and cost optimization, this is going to be a phenomena which is going to change everything. The way businesses acquire talent is going to change. Let's just build on this idea. So Gartner did a study where they found out that 32% of the bigger organizations, they're just starting to think around this idea how to replace their employees with contingent workers and save massive costs. They just need to work out how they can make it work in terms of performance and quality, etc., etc. But this has already started. And in 2007, by the way, there was this huge study that came to limelight by Alan S. Blinder, and he is from Princeton University, and he basically said that between 22 and 29% of the jobs in US will go offshore. And so this trend sort of went down for a couple of years. But what I'm predicting, and what a lot of thought leaders are saying, is that this is going to go off the chart now. So for example, why should Facebook pay an employee who's in New York or wherever their office is? I'm not sure wherever it is, but who has the same skill set to say the same kind of skill set compared to a person who is, let's say, in Pakistan? Why? And they're paying a lot of huge sums to this person, and acquiring a person from Pakistan, which is the idea of a talent on demand. Why can't a Pakistani work for Facebook in the future? And that way, it's going to save Facebook a lot of money. That person does not need to be a permanent employee. We have understood that so many different kind of contracts have been in place with gig economy already, where there is no kind of strings attached to the whole contract. We're going to see a lot of things happening in that direction. And so this talent on demand is like a trigger to the whole consulting market. And even though the consulting market has seen a 30% drop in revenue, what my prediction is that it's going to go off the roof. I mean, this is going to be on fire. Consulting is here to stay, and it's going to build on ever so more because of this talent on demand phenomena. It's going traditionally at 5%, 5.5% globally. And it's going to keep on growing. And because of all the uncertainty, look, you and me, or anyone around there who's just vulnerable at his position in a job, needs to position himself today. He has to make this decision today, or whatsoever position he is in right now. He needs to start thinking of having a proper expertise in place as an independent service provider as well, aka being a consultant. But you need to do it now so that you can benefit from the upside. Because look, when so many people are getting laid off, everybody is the go-to idea of everyone is why not start a consulting business? So you need to start to think about this from today onwards, so that you're in a better position to capture that market. You're in a better position to have your profile seen and be more relevant to the industry from today. So let's just move forward now. So I hope I've conveyed the whole opportunity and how it relates to recession, automation, and work from home idea, and how the phenomena of talent on demand is just it's going to put consulting market into a bigger market and a faster growing market. Nabi bhai, should I move on? Yeah, are there questions that I should be addressing?
So there are a few questions already, if it's all right to take those questions right now. So one of the questions is that these trends, how are you seeing that they're going to impact the Pakistani market?
Right. So, in terms of, I mean, if you mean that are they going to affect the consulting market in Pakistan? Well, Pakistan already has a very small consulting market in place, but Pakistan can potentially benefit from the upside of the growth in the industry, because ultimately, look, we have, for example, if for example Naveed Bhai moves from, he's already in Pakistan, but let's say he's still in Pakistan, he has a great profile from US, and let's say Facebook approaches him and offers him a contract for like 3-4 years, he'll be happy to take it. I'm just putting in that context so that we can visualize. I mean, Pakistan, we Pakistanis are on the upside, on the benefit side of these trends. So we need to prepare ourselves. We need to work on our positioning, our abilities, skill set, because we'll be competing at a global level when this comes about. So even though it's a great opportunity for people who have the right skill set and who are working on solving the right kind of problems, but this is point this is the kind of, this is going to be like WTO, World Trade Organization. Remember when WTO was coming around, it was like, how are you going to compete at a global level? So this is going to be WTO for talent this time around. So all the people who are positioned well, they're doing the right things, they're going to benefit from the upside, but
Another
not
quick
everybody.
question. Another quick question, that a few of the countries, especially in the Middle East, there is a trend going on for the past decade or so around nationalization, where they're encouraging the businesses to hire local resources. So how do you counter that challenge?
I think you cannot counter that challenge. They're going to face their. This is my personal opinion, and might be a political opinion, but they're going to face their own challenge. I think McKinsey did a great study, and they said that the new talent is not the new Middle Eastern, this trend of nationalization and Saudization or Omanization, etc., etc. The talent is not ready. They cannot fill the gap, the skill gap. So let's see how that goes. I don't know if this is a short-term strategy played by these GCC countries or not. But even if that happens, I think they're not the. As I mentioned, the cost of upskilling is huge. So it doesn't matter if it's GCC or whosoever. For organization to survive, talent is must. The cost of talent is of developing and upskilling talent is going to increase, which means that people who are prepared, they will be pursued. They will be asked to join in one form or another. Shall we move on?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so
Talent.
much.
Wonderful. So selecting your niche. So Dekhan, you're already in a position where you might be doing some kind of work there. So let's take an example where, for example, you're already in a position where you're doing digital marketing for a certain company, and you have developed that skill, or it could be project management. So you're a specialist. So specialist is kind of like a person who has spent at least 2 years, beyond 2 years or 3 years in one position, and he's very close to a managerial position, so he understands the in and out of the organization, and he's able to deliver kind of value. So how do you move on from there? So one of the things that you need to decide on is the pick on the industry. So whatever you're doing right now, just don't think that you will be a generalist and you can survive in this cold world out there, which is going to, as I mentioned, is going to become more harder to compete. You have to choose your focus, and you have to choose the industries where you can add value. And so this list of industry is not exhaustive. I've just mentioned few. I'm sure there are so many other industries that you can look into. But just to give you context, so whatever you're doing today, current specialization, so you have skill. What that means is that you're not starting from base zero. You are at one. So you need to understand from one, where do you go? So you can, the best way is to pick an industry which you have understood and where you can add value. So So now the whole idea around value creation is going to change for any kind of role. So it's not going to be a digital marketing person who is doing it for all and is like, the go-to person or the guru. This is not going to work anymore. So as more and more companies are coming into their realization of marketing and digital marketing, there's going to be a value add that a person from manufacturing background can deliver to that particular kind of problem. So so now, for example, you have let's say a manufacturing firm, which is a new firm. Most of the manufacturing firms don't have any kind of marketing function, and now you understand marketing. You work for a manufacturing firm, you understand that thing, and now you can deliver the kind of value that nobody can from outside can. And I'll let you know how in a minute. But this is important. You need to choose the focus so that it makes you relevant and it helps you become a dominant go-to person, a visible person in your industry. Um, uh, and just to put things into context, look, if you're, it said that if you have a hammer, there is a nail. So what that means is that there are existing problems that are required to be solved. Here are a few examples on your left are a few examples that Bain found out of the top tools that are in demand in the organizations which are known, which have a market. So this means that if you know any of them, or you know a good amount of them, you're at a good place to start off. And now on the right side, there are these problems that are triggered post-COVID. So organizations are going to face these problems as we go along. And again, the list, you can add so much to the list. This is what I've come across, so I've mentioned them. So you can use the skill set, what you know, and start applying to the problem. So this is what you know and what you can solve. And I'm just giving you this framework so that you can just, it helps you think and imagine that, yeah, what do I know and what can I solve today that is happening in the world. So for example, you could be working for your own organization and solving these kind of problems. So why don't you just generalize it for the rest of the industry and see how you can position yourself in that way. So a good way of this is that if you're working for a manufacturing firm, for example, see what other manufacturing firms are doing, where they're lacking, how they can solve that kind of problem, and try to solve as a for example, if you're doing a job and you are deciding to start a consulting firm, the best thing is that you take on any of these problems and you solve it for your existing organization. So let's say if you have been even demotivated by the whole thing, just take energy, build on energy from this idea that if you solve this for your own organization, which you're currently working in, you can then further use it as an asset that you can sell to so many other so many other companies in your industry. So utilize the time that you have currently available at your current organization and see how you can solve problems using any of these tools or any other thing that you're coming across in your own kind of area. Once you've done that, once you have done that, what I want you to do is enlist all the, yeah.
Hassan, a quick request, if you can turn off the WhatsApp notification sound. It's basically.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. Okay, gone.
Thank you.
So now what I want you to do is imagine all these kind of problems and skills that you know, and the position that you have in the company where you're starting off, and start listing them in. So for example, if you have been on multiple positions and you enjoyed couple of them and you enjoyed solving problems for that kind of role or position in the organization, start in listing them. But what you want to do is ultimately select one or two of them, not a lot. So you need to be focused and relevant, as I mentioned. And here's an evaluation kind of thing that you can do to understand if whether you should go for it or not, because sometimes you have skills that nobody really wants. So you need to have this mindset that, whatever consulting practice you're developing around, ऐसी होनी चाहिए that has demand, that has where you have certain kind of experience and credentials in, and where you can actually deliver results via a known process, where you can develop a process and kind of deliver those results. And ultimately, you have capabilities between resources and talents and even money. So money is a resource to sustain as well. So have this kind of quick evaluation. I know now is not the right time, so we're going to hand over these slides to you. So whatever ideas you're coming about, just go through this evaluation tool and see what's the right fit. So score yourself out of 4. So the score is going to be out of 16. It's going to be relative. So have like at least 4 or 5 options in place and score them and see which has demand, where will your current experience or credentials can come in, what kind of process do you know that actually will help deliver results, and what kind of capabilities are required to deliver on that kind of process. So so have the scoring evaluation done. This is going to be this will be handed over to you, so you can go through it in more further details as after the presentation once it's over. Nabil bhai, do I need to take any questions? Yeah, move forward.
I think like we are already past 30-minute mark. So if you want to finish up the slides first, and we can directly jump
All
into
right.
it.
Well, building a competitive advantage in highly saturated. So let's say now you've chosen a niche for yourself, and what do you do then? So it is said that bees are where the honey is. So पहली बात तो ये कि या अगर बिल्कुल आप देसी उसमें अंदर करना चाहते हो, ये कि जहाँ पे मीठा होगा वहाँ मक्खियाँ होंगी. तो जितनी भी मीठी चीजें वो तो ऑक्यूपाई हो गई है. तो but let's just see what's the thinking process of a buyer. I think of a process of a buyer is that he looks at the approach of your selling. So and how do you solve this problem? And this comes into place because look, ultimately consulting primarily is an intangible asset. It's an intangible process which you have to substantiate through your approach. So we're going to come at that. What's the approach? How do you define an approach, etc. But you have to understand that your approach is what helps you build a competitive advantage. And in terms of a good way of thinking, if somebody has read Blue Ocean Strategy by Kim, I forgot his last name. It's a great book. It talks about 2 kind of ideas. So you can either be in the red ocean or you can be in the blue ocean. And here's a red ocean mentality. A red ocean mentality is you try to beat the competition. You try to, try to get as much business from the existing client. And you try to make the value and you do cost trade-off because again, it's just so saturated that you can't just survive. So this is where all the bees are, or where all the makhis are. But on the right side are blue oceans, which you create for yourself. And how do you do that? We're going to go into the details. But this is where you want to be. So this is where there's no competition or very little competition. You actually create this for yourself. You actually dictate demand. You create demand for yourself. And then you basically command even the pricing. So we're going to go, next step is to see how do you command pricing. But this is a great step for you to go into developing that kind of thinking. So the whole idea is that you have to lead and you don't have to sell. So leading is this idea in marketing, which is called, there's this idea in marketing called thought leadership. Thought leadership is at the higher hierarchy in the whole kind of marketing world. It's not branding and advertising. It's not just product services and collateral that you create for your consulting thing. It's not just the how-to guide or the evaluation or the case studies that you develop, but it's the idea where you predict how the future is going to be, and then you help solve that for the client. So you're leading his thought, and you're then giving the solution as to how do you solve this thing. So what you're essentially doing is just moving away. Let's say if this is the market, you're essentially moving away from the current way of thinking into a new dimension, and you're taking your customers with you into this newer dimension of thinking. So here's an example of what we did when we were turning around this business. We did a seminar. By the way, our whole market was around family businesses. So most of the family business consultants inside Pakistan, and by the way, there are a lot of family business. About 80% of business in Pakistan and Middle East are family-owned businesses. And what most of the consultants are doing are selling family business constitution. And so what we did to differentiate ourselves, to build our competitive advantage, is present a new idea in a newer form, where we talk about the next 10 years, what that means for the family business in the current context of disruptive change and economic change and technological change. And this particular event was done in, and alhamdulillah, it was attended by about 200 people, 200 and representing about 40 families. And just mind you, it's very hard to bring family-owned businesses, family business owners to any kind of session, because they move in flocks. They don't go one person at a time. So it was hard kind of do thing. But I asked my salesperson as to what kind of effort he had put to get this amount of people. So it was surprising that he said that we didn't do anything extraordinary. It was just that people were really, really curious what this meant for them. So this is how you create something new. So you make them something very relevant, and then you excite people into the new way of thinking. So this is essentially, this is one of the most important job that you need to do as a consultant, because if you're not doing this new thinking approach, I can assure you, you will keep on be a commodity service at the end. So in order to differentiate, this is very important. Here's another example. So okay, so what this did was, during this seminar, we essentially we piqued their interest by this whole topic, and then we presented our approach. So towards the right side of it, three capital model is our approach to solving the whole family business, problems or issues or anything that comes around that. While rest of the market keeps on selling constitution, we sell the whole approach. So mind you, I'm just going to give you a very important insight over here. We're not selling one thing over here. So we're selling the big idea, what it means for the family business, and we're selling this whole thing along with the parts of it. So what this means for you is that you can capture more market, you can capture more business, and you can not only sell the whole, but you can sell the parts of it. On the right side of it, on the left side of my screen, you have a KPMG model where they also solve the family business problem, but in a totally unique way. And you can see that, for example, they have growth people, etc., etc., and that's their whole approach. So having an approach is very important for any kind of company which consulting practice, which needs to differentiate itself from the rest. So McKinsey has his own way of thinking around family businesses, and PwC has their own way of thinking around it. And so naturally, learning from them, and I did a lot of research and learning, and spent a lot of time understanding how these consulting firms actually function. We adopted the same kind of approach. But this is a unique way. It requires a lot of rigorous work, but it pays off. It really pays off at the end. Here's another example of a digital transformation market, which is again a small market, but it's a growing market, and post-COVID it's going to go off the chart. On the left side of it, you're on my screen, you're seeing a BCG approach of solving the same problems around digital transformation. On the right side of it, you are seeing Inology, which is another consulting firm which solves the same kind of approach. Totally different approaches, but the outcomes are same. They own now what it comes down to is that how well are you selling your big idea. So it's one big idea having a lot of components, and then you're selling the people on the approach or on the new way of thinking around the problem, and how it can be solved for the future, and how the current ways are going obsolete. So you have to negate the existing approaches, and that also helps you build a lot of market as well. So you have to bring this new kind of thing. I hope this is an eye opener for you guys. This surely was for me. Now, how do you pick your idea around thought leadership? So here's an example below. There's this diagram around supply chain management. I'm just showing this idea so that you can understand how to come up with these kind of ideas. So here's an evolution of the field of supply chain management. So in 1960, it was essentially warehousing and transport. It was nothing more than that. In 1960, it was just focused on this. Then there was this new way of thinking around supply chain management, which got this cost component, management component in the whole thing, because now the retail market, let's say, was growing, or any other trend that led to that kind of thinking. Then it developed into sort of like integrated logistic management way of thinking, which meant that now you had to plan further, you had to plan for disruption, and this is sort of the era when globalization started moving on, right? And then you have the current form of thinking, which is called supply chain management, which has a couple of ways of thinking around. So it has channels as well. So it sort of helps the market. It's more integrated into the marketing and sales function more so ever. It exists in a global world. And moving from there, you have this new current form which is called lean supply chain management, which has the internet as a predominant source where e-commerce businesses are moving around. Now, my question is, what comes next? So let's say what's next is maybe how you do it in a manner which is supported by the industrial revolution, in the new industrial revolution, using IoT, Internet of Things, using robotics, etc., etc. Which I'm not a supply chain person. I'm just giving you ideas. If somebody's from that field, would better able to relate this. But this is how you develop new kind of thinking. So what you essentially have to do is you have to have some kind of primary research into the field, where it is going, what's the evolution, what's the future like, what are the drivers of change. Then you need to build your own. So if uh, 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 you have been doing work in this field, then you might have personal views of beliefs around what's working and what's not working. So this is important, that you bring your own personal essence and beliefs into the whole way of thinking around the field. And then you create the whole idea of what the solution looks like, and what are the components of that solution, so that you build on this idea further, so that you make it more visual and it has to be visual. Ultimately, any framework or model has to be visual for people to better understand your kind of approach and thinking around how things are connected, how do they offset, how do they relate to each other, what's a part of what, and etc., etc. And then you just build on the approach. Okay, how does it work? What's the first step? What's the last step? What happened in the middle? So this is how you do it. I mean, this is an exhaustive subject. Because of the limitation of time, I won't be spending much time on this. But this was a game changer for me. Ultimately, you have to put things into a compelling message, and focus on the blue circle, which is why does the future matter, who are you, how can you help others, and how do you help them. So this kind of messaging will, मतलब अगर आप यही approach अपना लें, तो this will help you be in the 10% of the top, because most of the people, what they're doing is just selling commodities. They focus on the what, as Simon Sinek would say, they focus on the what, product and services and infrastructure and the cost, etc., etc. So let's move further. Sales process that gives you price command. If you ever have been a consultant, you know what it means to send a lot of proposal and not get a response. This is very common. And when I joined the company that I transformed, there were about 20 proposals, after which we got some kind of closing done. So this was a state of affair. The one thing that we have to keep in mind is that how are decisions made? They're made on the fact that business owners or any kind of decision maker, they understand the value proposition that that you bring to the table. So the business driver, the movement, and the metric. And you need to do this for your, this is as an exercise for you guys. And there's a whole model that I gave you where you can put this kind of thinking. But you need to come up with a value proposition that is of this sort. And then you need to have this kind of build a business case for them to take that action. If this is not happening, I'm sorry, you won't be getting yeses or closing on your proposal. And here's a way of how we solved it, how we commanded price. So one thing is where you're coming from. I mean, you on the left, let's start from thought leadership. This is what you have done. I'm assuming you have done this. So any kind of seminar, webinar, report, blog, where you have compiled your thinking and framework and you have presented it. This alone gives you so much credibility, so much trust, so much command that price is going to start becoming irrelevant. However, you still need to meet this guy afterward and build the interest and understand them closely. But then you have to get in their heads, but it can only be at the terms that you set. So what we have found out is that you don't send any proposal unless you do some kind of assessment. And we always did. So before, as I mentioned, 20 proposals, one closing, we didn't do any kind of assessment. Now we started doing assessment. Now it doesn't matter how much you're charging, but you do charge. You do charge at least 5% of the value of the whole project, so that they understand that it's going to, your time is valuable, their time is valuable, and this is how you keep the relationship and manage the relationship. Once the assessment is done, below is an example of how you present it. So you don't present it in their own terms, because look, they have their own way of thinking, which is predominantly from the old or established way of thinking, constitution bana do, ye kar do, wo kar do. But you have to assess them on your own terms. So you need to come up with an assessment system, which helps you do that. So this is our system, which did it for 4 different dimensions, and it builds on it. This is like a summary of it, the whole thing, just to give you an example. We are addressing development and maturity levels.
Hassan,
yeah.
Just a time check, only 12 minutes left.
4 minutes?
12 minutes.
No problem. Inshallah, we'll make it through. And then you propose. Now, because what ends up happening is that once you have done assessment, it's such a game changer. Jab aap kisi ka assessment karte hain, what you end up asking are the questions that have the biggest implications for them. So that means you understand them personally, you understand their situation, you understand the implication of not taking action, you understand how they even think about you, how the other people are thinking about you, and how you're going to change your language and what kind of approach you're going to take to present the solution. And it's just such a devilish thing that it actually makes you go in their head and come up with the right pieces to say to them ultimately, which you now build into a proposal which talks about the priorities, implication, builds on the business case and the value proposition. And now when you go for the close, inshallah, you're going to get amazing and better results. So in our case, we close about 45% of the people of the companies that we do assessments of. So alhamdulillah, this is great. It worked for us. So this new way of thinking, now I'm just wrapping up. This new way of thinking it's like a flywheel effect. So you start from a new way of thinking, you capture a market, then you develop processes that help you deliver on those that helps you deliver better results. Once you deliver better results, it gives you more experience and also helps you develop. Again, it's like a cycle which has momentum, and once you go into this, it just builds on and helps you be a natural and helps you, create a lot of snowball effect or a flywheel effect in this case, where uh, it's very difficult to start the flywheel in the beginning, and then it becomes easier and easier as you go along. So in our case, we start in terms of financial terms. I won't just categorize the success in just finances. We focus on impact as well. That's a separate discussion, not for this topic, but just finance is something that everybody's measuring. So we're going to share for your for just understanding sake. First deal was around 24,000. That's when we started, commanding price. The second was around 30,000. The third was 36. Fourth was 56, and then 98, and so on. So on doesn't mean that we are constantly increasing price, and that's not the whole point. The whole point is that you command the price which is right. So you don't charge which is extreme. You don't charge which is less. So you value yourself. You value them. It's not about being the most premium or the most expensive consulting firm out there. It's about charging the right value, which which helps you, rotate this flywheel even better. So it helps you grow your firm. And let's get into that. What does that mean? Well, how does that look like? So there are 4 components of growing your firm. So let's start with better distribution of ideas. Better distribution. Yeah.
Baba, there are quite a few questions. Do you want to take them? Because like we're left with 9 minutes. So if
yeah, perhaps
if
I
we
could.
yeah.
Maybe I
So
think this is valuable information being shared. Perhaps the audience would also like to understand how has it been for you, for your company, in order to become a sustainable business. For instance, what has been your pipeline forecasting methods such that the pipeline was healthy throughout the quarters or months? That could be one area you could maybe shed some light on. And maybe later on, if you still have time, even for example, family businesses, and transforming different aspects of that particular business, you might need thought leadership in multiple areas like marketing, like sales, like manufacturing. How did you manage to deliver that thought leadership in multiple areas through the single firm that you have, for instance? Maybe if you can give some ideas on those, that could help also the audience.
Right.
Thank you, Babar.
Right. So I think in terms of forecasting and how we develop our sales pipeline, it's very simple. We have a so now what we started doing was that we were doing these seminars, and these seminars were attended by around 100 to 200 kind of people, all family business owners, and that's where we could interest and started getting sort of leads. Once that was done, all the forecasting methods are very similar. We identified the kind of family business we are dealing with, so we categorize them based on as being small, doing about let's say 1 million to 2 million USD, to around 2 to 7 million, 10 million, and then the larger one. So understanding the family size. So all the key components that would help us size the opportunity, very simple kind of ways around that. But with the most important fundamental thing was doing a lot of thought leadership events, because in our case especially, the thinking around family businesses, like we have been in family businesses. I mean, Pakistan has been in family businesses for centuries, and in the subcontinent, background, etc., etc. But there's very traditional way of thinking around it. So the new corporate way of thinking about it, professionalization, etc., etc. These are very new ideas for these family-owned businesses. So our biggest challenge was building awareness. They had the problem, so they were problem aware. They just didn't know how to solve it. So there's this myth among family business owners that all family businesses they don't survive beyond third generation. It's like a myth which is across the board. I mean, across the globe. So in every language, there's this kind of idiom, you would say, that दादा कमाता है, बेटा जो है वो पता नहीं बढ़ाता है या क्या करता है, and then पोता जो है ना वो उजाड़ता है या लगा देता है, something like that. And across the board, I mean, so we had to break that myth. So you have to understand the key constraint you're solving for. in our case, it was how do we educate these people and bring them to our way of thinking. Another issue that we came around that we try to solve is that पाकिस्तान में consulting market is a very new market. बहुत सारे consultant वैसे ही बदनाम है पाकिस्तान के अंदर. Generally globe में भी बदनाम है, पाकिस्तान में वैसे ही बदनाम है because बहुत कम होते हैं and ultimately there's this odd story around each firm. But apart from that, people have not actually worked with a lot of consultants. So how do we work with them? How do we charge, etc.? There's a lot of education that was involved. So forecasting was done based on how many people are coming into the pipeline and basically sizing the opportunity based on the size of the business, number of shareholders, the type of the industry, etc. And then a lot of this was done. The leads were acquired through a system that we have actually developed for this seminar, because we knew that if you want to create trust with the business owner, we have to do something of a physical event rather than going virtual. So in our case, it was like this. Yeah, just to answer the last question, we did not solve. We were solving family business problems, so problem related to governance, problem related to business growth planning. So more of the strategic stuff, not of the operation side, not of the any other field that we were doing. However, as a growth strategy, there are a lot of opportunities because our model allows us to have partners in the human capital side of the thing and the financial capital where we can build on that. You know, we can actually, it becomes very easy for us to go into the sale because now we have developed trust, and it's easy to bring on those partners and, you know, take him to the business owners and tell them, look, he's a new partner and this is new what we're doing. So this is kind of like a growth strategy that we have in place for the coming years.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hassan. And as we're just left with a few minutes, so if somebody has to start something right now, as when you started the session, how can they do that in $500?
So so I've put down the steps. So again, if you look at the steps, this is by the way something that of an exercise that I want everyone who's going to start. This is sort of a combination of the ideas that I've talked about. You can have it in one place, and it's a good start. In terms of the steps, so first thing is you have to understand where you're coming from, what kind of experience. You have to go through some kind of introspection where you understand what your current capabilities are, strengths, values. This is very important. If you're just doing this for money, there's a very good chance that you're going to fail. So align things with your values. Do that. Number two is now once you've done that and you have understood. Sorry, this comes up and this goes down. So now once you have done that, you develop some kind of you choose your niche and you go through the evaluation tools that are provided. I'm sure you get it through the slides that we circulate, and then you start doing the leadership piece through some of the exercise that I've shared. Again, have at least some kind of approach in place. You don't have to write a lot of stuff. Just have thoughts in place. Do research. At least spend. My idea to you is to spend at least 1 month making the decision around niche, doing your preliminary work around your thought leadership piece, and then create it in some kind of way, either a report or a webinar, whatever is easy for you, do it. And then upgrade your social profile, reflect your habits such that it reflects your expertise, and lets people know that you understand something, and start maybe posting something around that. And once that is done, have a minimum viable process in place which helps you deliver on what you're going to do. Identify the right customers. This is very important that you need to go where the fish is. If you're fishing in a pond which is empty, you're not going to get anything. Start distributing your thought leadership piece. So if you're getting a chance to talk to these people in a crowd or even one-on-one, just start doing it and see the response. See the pulse. If it is beating, if it's faster, see the response of the people, see the eyeballs if they're growing bigger when you say something or not. Just notice the whole body language of your prospects, and then pitch an assessment. This is something that you can easily do in the next 30 to 60 days, and then give yourself some extra time to have some formalization in place, and then making it more formal, and hopefully by then you have at least one client in place and you're self-sustaining.
Perfect. I think we're done with time. Thank you so much, Hassan. It was a very informative session, and I think there are a lot of questions, but I think we can certainly plan a follow-up session as well. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for joining in.
Charlie, I'm just final words. You can connect with me on LinkedIn is my address. You can connect me. You can on if you want WhatsApp or call. And what am I doing these days? I'm constantly looking for deals to invest in and partnering up for turnaround, especially low mid-market companies. And how we can work together is basically you can help introduce a company which needs a turnaround or want to grow, and in return, you can. I'm happy to share earning of 10% for the first year, whatever we earn on that deal. And if you want to learn more, I hope Nabil Bhai and the admins are planning another follow-up session, and that'd be great. I'd be happy to share more deep dives on specific topics.
Thank you so much, Hassan. Great session.
Thanks. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for hearing me out, and God bless you, and good luck.
Thanks. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks.
Thank you.